So, this is our presentation on healthcare organizational issues, specifically on the issue of illegally sharing electronic medical records. This presentation is by Zamzam, Grace G, and Jordyn. So, we made up a fictional scenario to help us explore some of the ethical theories that could apply to this issue. So, in our case, a recent security breach at Bethel University Hospital has occurred. A group of phishing schemes targeted employees within the hospital, and they were able to obtain access to tens of thousands of patient charts containing private medical information. The hospital has been sending practice phishing emails to prepare its employees for phishing schemes. Additionally, there have been training events scheduled throughout the year to prevent breaches such as this one. The hospital performed an investigation and found a group of 17 employees that were directly related to the security breach. These employees continuously failed to identify the practice phishing emails that the company was sending and did not attend the training provided by the institution. Now the hospital is looking to seek action against these employees for their involvement in the breach of medical information. The employees are furious with the hospital, stating that it is not their job to protect the company against phishing schemes. An ethical committee has been called to help make a decision regarding the future employment of these employees. So, to summarize our scenario here, there are two parties involved, the Bethel University Hospital and the 17 employees who accidentally clicked on the phishing emails and thereby shared information. Um, so both parties are essentially saying that the other party is at fault, and we are here to decide who really is, so that we can apply this hypothetical scenario to future situations that we are very likely to encounter. So first, let's begin by defining phishing. When someone pretends to be a reputable source in order to dissuade others into sharing personal information, like sharing social security numbers, passwords, or patient health information. Um, this is a very common example of phishing. Um, and phishing specifically refers to using online communication like emails, phone calls, or text messages. They will usually impersonate someone that you know or trust, like your boss or someone from within your organization, or imitating other organizations as well, using the usernames, emails, etc., to try to convince you that this is a reputable email. You should click on it, and you will either be prompted to share information, or when you click on the email, it will upload malware to your computer, which then can invade your computer and obtain information from the computer without you knowing. So remember that the scammer will try to use information about yourself to get you to open the email, and that the malware can happen and invade your computer without you knowing. So a few phishing examples from real life for us. Um, we get email offers of employment from outside companies, emailed to our um, jobs, specifically in hospitals or in healthcare field. Um, and the goal is for you to click on the emails, hoping that you get another job. Um, and that will be open for malware, and that can get into your computer and potentially expose patient information. Um, Another common occurrence is that you will get emails informing you of unusual activity, um, of someone signing in with your hospital username or something, so that you think that someone is trying to hack your account, and click on the email to get more information, even though it's the email itself that's actually doing the hacking. Another common example is when they will target vulnerable populations, especially with phone calls, calling the elderly. people who are older and have less experience with modern technology may have a harder time discerning what is a reputable source and what is not. So here are the two ethical theories that we're going to consider in this situation. The first one is contractarianism. That's a big word. In this theory, there's an agreement between individuals to account for the normative requirements applicable to them and the governing power of these actions. So basically, you have signed some form of social contract or legal. It is binding. Individuals are responsible for the rules that they agreed to follow, and they have handed over the authority to the governing power. And in this case, it would be the employee signing a contract with the employer. So, contractarianism suggests that the employees would be held accountable by the hospital as they have a duty to actively help prevent phishing schemes and protect patient information. This theory protects the hospital. The other theory on the other side is pluralism. This theory describes multiple ethical theories that can have conflicting moral views, but are still each worthy of respect. So in this case, it is okay for there to not be a right answer, and we are going to have to look outside of typical laws or social contracts to consider what is the best course of action. While employees have a duty to protect the company, they may feel that they have a higher duty to protect their patients, and they may feel that the hospital has a duty to protect them and to have proper cybersecurity in place. So in this case, we're going beyond the employment contract, and we are considering the hospital's responsibility as well, specifically to protect their employees and protect their patients. So the pluralism theory votes in favor of the employees. So we have a few stakeholders in this situation, so let's dive into them. The first one is Bethel University Hospital. This focuses on maintaining the security and privacy of patients' medical records. This cybersecurity breach compromises confidentiality and has a negative impact on the hospital's reputation, which may lead to legal action. The next aspect that we are going to consider, the contractarianism. Again, this allows the hospital to hold employees accountable for their lack of prevention of security breaches and their failed duty to uphold agreed upon terms. Next aspect of this is the employees. The employees are obligated to uphold a confidentiality and commitment to security, and they are trusted with safeguarding sensitive information, and that's going to come with a lot of responsibility. They are at risk of disciplinary action, and in this scenario, it's important to note that they have not been keeping up with their trainings and have repeatedly fallen for the same scams multiple times. Another aspect we're going to consider is the pluralistic view. So again, employees may argue that the hospital shares the responsibility for the security breach, and so it's a shared responsibility, and this is a systemic issue instead of a specific individual employee issue. So they can argue that they have a duty to protect the company, but they also have a higher duty to protect their patients' well-being. Finally, the most important stakeholder in this case would be the patients, and their medical records were compromised by the security breach. This leads to violation of their privacy, a loss of trust, very uncomfortable feelings for them because we are going to have to notify them that their information was shared without their consent. and they are going to be the most important people to consider in this scenario. So now we are going to take a look at some historical examples that are as similar as we could find to the case study that we came up with. So in this first example, in 2015, an employee at Alpha Payroll Services fell victim to hackers pretending to be their CEO. So basically, the hackers' email claimed that they were the CEO of Alpha Payroll Services and requested from this employee all W-2 forms produced by the company that year. The employee, thinking that they were talking to their boss, complied and sent all of the forms. The outcome was that the employee was fired and the culprit was never caught. Also, many people found false tax returns filed under their social security numbers. So while this is not within the healthcare field, it is relatively similar, and it does show that there is a legal precedent for firing employees who fall victim to phishing scams. Even if it's accidental, even if they don't know, it has happened that they have been fired. It is also important to note that we could find very few examples of it, and in this article that we are referencing by Reagan 2016, there are very few examples out there. Our next historical example occurs in 2017 when an employee for CardioNet, which is a wireless cardiac monitoring service, brought their laptop home, where it was then stolen from their car. The laptop contained information from their work, which meant that 1,391 clients had their medical information stolen. Both the employee and the employer afterwards claimed ignorance of the HIPAA requirements not being followed, and they, again, essentially blamed each other. The outcome of this situation was that an investigation showed that CardioNet's policies did not involve adequate risk assessment, and the company was fined $2.5 million for failing to fully understand HIPAA requirements. So in this case, it showed that you can't claim ignorance of the HIPAA rules. You have to follow them, and you do your due diligence to make sure that you are. And this decision put blame on the medical company, which can be similar to a hospital, and put the blame on them for not doing adequate risk assessment, not taking the appropriate precautions to protect information with technology or policies. And so this is not exactly the same situation, but it is similar, and we can draw some connections to it. The lesson that we can learn from this, according to the HIPAA journal itself, is that this case reflects the norm. If HIPAA violations are unknowingly broken, the employer is usually penalized, not the employee. Let's pause and take a moment to just go over what we've learned so far. There are an increasing number of examples of phishing scams affecting healthcare workers. One theory that we're considering, contractarianism, suggests that since employees sign a legal and social contract with the hospital to protect patient information, they are then responsible for leaks if they fall for scams. Pluralism is the other theory we're considering, and this suggests that there are multiple valid opinions here, even if they are conflicting. They encourage diversity of views and considering many people's sides of the truth. This means that we also need to consider the hospital's responsibility to protect patient data and their employees via training and technology. Finally, there are a very few historical examples of employees losing their jobs due to falling for scams. So here is the logical conclusion that we have come to. Um, Basically, there are three factors that are important: accountability, systemic analysis and improvement, and patient welfare. So the decision is shaped by ethical history, by recognizing that while employees play a crucial role in safeguarding medical records, the ultimate responsibility for compliance to HIPAA and maintaining security rests with the hospital. The hospital should implement comprehensive training programs, enhance technological defenses, and regularly audit security protocols. So this goes back to those three factors. Basically, we are putting most of the accountability on the hospital. We are expecting them to um, conduct systemic analysis of their precautions and their security, and we are expecting them to actively look for ways to improve that security. And that is because of the importance of the third factor, patient welfare. That is going to be the most important. And if we are not actively keeping up with the issues and the technology and the potential for harm, we are going to seriously break down the relationship between patients and the healthcare field. So, for the implications for the stakeholders, for Bethel University Hospital, through systemic improvements and taking accountability, we are expecting the hospital to demonstrate commitment to the ethical principles and resilience and patient welfare. For the employees, with accountability, the employees can acknowledge the mistakes they made, in this case, not upholding the training and making the same mistake multiple times. And by doing this, they can prevent future breaches, and they can do this by participating in ongoing training and upholding professional integrity. Finally, the most important stakeholder, the patients, they benefit from the enhanced security measures that protect their privacy, and this will help build confidence in the hospital's commitment to their well being. This can help undo some of the breakdown of trust as a result of their private information being shared without their consent. So, the decision of our nursing ethics committee is that the hospital should be held responsible for the security breach with an increase in mandatory training for their employees. While there is legal ground for a case against these employees, this is not normative. The employees will be protected by institutions such as the union or previous legal cases. So, what can we learn from this moving forward? It is possible, if not likely right now, for healthcare providers to be fired for falling for scams. It is also possible that employees will face less severe forms of punishment for these failures, like being written up. Either way, it will be uncomfortable for you, so please be careful. Also, as an employee, you are more likely to face these consequences if it becomes a pattern. This is another reason to pay attention to trainings and do not click a link if you are unsure. Most importantly, data leaks can seriously affect patients' lives, so employees need to do what they can to protect patient data, regardless of what the hospital does. Finally, we know that scams are constantly evolving, so please stay up to date on what they can look like. Technology looks one way today, it's going to look different tomorrow and the next day and in a few years, and we need to stay up to date on the ways that hackers are trying to trick us. So thank you very much for listening to our presentation on the healthcare issue of illegally sharing electronic medical records. We know that this is a very serious issue and it's something that we are sure we will all encounter as future nurses. So thank you for listening, and we hope that you learned something that will be of value to you later on. Again, this presentation is by Grace, Zamzam, and Jordyn. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.